Hello everybody and welcome to another Arkham List video today. Bryn and I are continuing ranking all of the skills, and yes, Russ is here. He's on the timeout chair because he was being a little bit of a menace while we were getting this all set up. So enjoy, Russ, while you can. Why don't we dive in? Bryn and I are the skill masters, so our rating is unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, law. Yeah, it's how it is. So why don't we dive in and get this going with our lowest ranked Guardian skill, which is Intrepid. This is an innate skill. If this skill test is successful, add Intrepid to your play area as an asset with the text. You get +1 book, +1 fist, and +1 foot. At the end of the round, discard Intrepid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you have to pass a brain test with only 1 pip, which means that you're probably like 4 to 3.
Yep.
On a good day. Bad day, you're like 3 up. So that's not a place to be. If this card was like guts with this text, I think it would be pretty good.
Yeah, I think so too.
But as is, that's just a little bit like maybe if you're off class blue, you might want this. Like Diana Stanley, maybe. Maybe. But even that is kind of like probably cuter than it is good.
It's really it's weird to me because I've played this in one deck. It was a Butterfly Swords Lily Chen deck because she has high brain, and the idea is that you want to get as many actions out of Intrepid as you can. But the problem is you want this in the Mythos phase, which means you don't have an enemy to deal with. So maybe Intrepid is best as like a bad copy of Magnifying Glass, but like that's not worth it, right? Like that's kind of the problem. It's just not worth it for +1 to your stats, and you need to like, you don't get to choose when it triggers unless you're like a weird Diana Stanley. But even then, like, what are you gonna do? Hit with your spell and then like stab them with your Twilight Blade? Like, just do that without Intrepid, right? Like, just play a different card. Like it's that. It's kind of like the unfortunate part of Intrepid.
Yeah, I think like it needs to have a second pip.
Yeah, I think so too. More reliable.
Because otherwise, like, what are we doing here?
Because like
we're showing up and we're like, I'm bad guts.
Yeah.
And that's what it does.
And
right?
Intrepid otherwise would be alternative guts if you don't need the card draw, but you would like you use your stats more.
If you think that you can make more use out of the +1, probably 3-ish times.
Yep.
Then like okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we're talking.
Yeah.
Or if it committed for a while, so that somebody like Skids could use it.
Yep.
To like run a foot test.
Yep.
And there's just play game.
There's a little bit of sauce missing from the card.
It's just not quite there.
Yeah. On to our number 13, which is Helping Hand, the scariest art in the game. In my head, this is Brother Xavier who's doing this. I know it's not actually like a priest's outfit, but like that's who it is in the shadows in my mind.
Yeah.
Helping Hand.
Brother Xavier wears costumes sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a little strange.
Yeah. It's an innate skill. You may commit Helping Hand to any type of test, max 1 committed per test. While Helping Hand is committed to a skill test, double the skill icons of each other card committed to this test.
Now, in a desperate deck, this card is crazy.
Yeah, ain't that true?
However, it's mostly a bad unexpected courage that you can't really commit to other people's tests without them doing work too. And do you really need 2 unexpected courages on your test? Maybe. But you could just play unexpected courage.
Yeah, this card kind of just reminds me of like it's like a fixed double or nothing, right? It's like a double or nothing that isn't designed to break it. You know, it's here to just be like the safest that it can be. Yeah. Obviously, the idea is that Carson Sinclair wanted to play this card. But
I can't say that's been my experience.
No, and I agree. It's just because the card just like it doesn't do anything. Like, yeah, it helps you pass a test, but it requires other things to pass the test. And if you're just saying like, hey, but it's like a promise of power if you commit it to someone else's
already promise of power.
Yeah, test. It's like you're already passing that test, and I think that's kind of the problem.
Yeah, like maybe it's slightly better at higher difficulties where you've got like much bigger numbers that you have to contend with, but we don't know about that. We don't do that.
Yeah. No.
We don't enjoy that.
I think it's a neat card, but I don't think it's a good card. Yeah.
Yeah.
On to number 12, we got Defensive Stance. This is a 1 experience skill. It's practice and expert. While Defensive Stance is in your hand or committed to a skill test, it gains fist icons equal to your foot and foot icons equal to your fist.
It's a shame that they wasted such a sweet piece of art and such sweet flavor text. on a card like this.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of just like, what would you say you do here? And it's like, I'm Overpower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it? All right. I guess. I mean, I get it. You're blue, so you have to care about fist somehow. But like fist into foot, like, hey, buddy.
There you go. Your timeout's not done. Your timeout is not done.
Yeah. It's just kind of like, I guess this is sort of cool for like skids.
Yep.
But being cool for skids usually means being bad at the game.
Yes.
So
it's. I think it's like the worst one of these. Of like this cycle, and I mean actually probably the Mystic one's also not great, because it also has like that weird thing where it's like brain and book, like I'll play it, but and I've played this one too, like I've played in Lily Chen, she's in the art, so it is actually good for her, but it just doesn't like have the same defensive impact, because as a guardian you're not really scared of foot tests, because foot tests usually deal damage.
They're just going to hurt you a little bit, and you're like, great, I came here planning to take 12.
Exactly, right? So that's kind of why this one doesn't shine for me in comparison to the others.
Yeah, I think for me a big part of this is that like it doesn't give you brain icons.
Yep.
Which it can't, because the punch brain one is the red one.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
a good one.
It's very good.
Yeah.
This one, just like foot, is mostly bad.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not green.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It sucks to suck.
On to number 11, which we have fighting lessons. This it's a practice skill that commits for a fist, a foot, and a wild. Commit only to a skill test or an attack or evasion attempt. You can commit this skill to an investigator's test at any location. I think this card shines when it like has the moment where it does something. Like you're like, hey, I have to evade this enemy. You can't help me. And you're like, oh, you fool, I can help you. I can teach you how to do this.
I've already taught you how to do this.
Yeah.
Just do it the way that I showed you.
Yeah, they get the flashback. That's what the card is. It's the flashback to this. And I think like those moments, the card is definitely playable. But it's not going to last long in your deck. Like if you're if you're Mark Harrigan, I would take this as one of your practice options. If you're doing practice makes perfect. And then just like go to leadership 2 when you can.
Yeah,
but leadership 0 is also still very good.
All right.
You're being a jerk, Russell. Chris. You're getting too comfortable with Bryn. You can only attack me and Julie. Yeah, I don't think the card's like bad, because it actually impressed me the times I've played it, but I don't think it's like...
It is a practice skill that commits for a wild, which does also increase the value slightly. But that being said, the only time I've really been excited about this, I was playing a Carson Sinclair deck where I was following our Kluver around, and Justin was playing Kaimani, so like the fist and
were relevant.
And the foot were both relevant things that I could do while not being on his location.
Yeah, that's
So like I think there are homes for it, but outside of those homes, it's just bad overpower.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right, number 10, we got Self-Sacrifice. This is a spirit skill. Commit only to... Kellen Wright can play this card. I always forget.
Oh, yeah.
Commit only to a skill test of any type. Oh, my God. Russ.
Oh, man.
There's no one over there.
Yeah, but there could be.
Yeah. Do you think he sees, like, us on the screen and he's like, these motherfuckers are the ones who pet me?
Why aren't they paying attention to it?
Yeah. So if this test fails, commit to only skill tests of any type being performed by another investigator at your location. If this test fails, you must resolve all effects from the failed test instead of the performing investigator. Then either you draw 2 cards, or the performing investigator draws 2 cards.
I always draw the 2 cards myself.
Oh, yeah, that's why you're doing this. You took the punishment.
Yeah, if I'm taking the damage or whatever, then you can bet your ass I'm drawing the cards too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I think this card actually is. I don't like look to play it all the time, but like if I'm like a tank, if my job is to protect people, Self-Sacrifice is just kind of doing a bad impression of a take card, but it also is kind of also doing a bad impression of a ward of protection. Or sorry, let me handle this, right?
Yeah.
Which I think are like 2 cards
They're good.
They're good cards, and if it's a bad impression, it's still probably a fine impression of the card.
Yeah. No, I think this card is mostly better than it reads.
Yep.
A lot of the time, failed tests, if you're a guardian, you're just like, oh no, anyway, I'll throw away the money I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll put the clues I don't have back on this location anyhow.
Yeah.
Or just continue with your life.
Yeah, or just like, I'll take the damage because I have 12 of it.
Because I've got like a pile of soak in my deck or whatever, right? I came here planning to take damage.
And I think that's where like the card really shines in like a sneaky way. And it goes beyond, I think like to me, that's the more exciting part of the draw 2 is great. But like being able to like protect other people, like that's what Guardian does. And I think the card, we knocked it because,
because you have to fail a test for it to be good. But
I mean,
the more we play, the more I think I've come to realize that like you're failing. It's going to happen. It happens to everybody.
I think also like Carson would like this card too because he also is playing a million soak.
Yeah, or also just like he sucks.
He sucks. Yeah.
Like if you got to pick between Carson dying and someone else dying,
you usually choose Carson.
It's probably Carson because he doesn't do anything on his own.
No. We know where you're going here. Buddy. Lie down and we'll pet you. Yeah, no, I think self-sacrifice is better than it reads. And if you haven't tried it, don't play it solo. That's my only... I mean, realistically, I'm actually hard-pressed to also play this card in 2 players because I think your 30 cards are like, you have a tighter window for that. But in 3 or 4 player, I think self-sacrifice will do work.
Yeah, I think it does depend a lot on... what your team comp looks like. If you're protecting like, I don't know, somebody like Joe Diamond where he's just like, I got a glass jaw. Then probably you want like every possible way to do that. Yeah. Because
he's got a glass jaw.
He does. Yeah. He's going to get hit one time and he's down. That's it. It's over.
Yeah. On to our number 9, we got Inspiring Presence. This is an innate skill, commits for a brain, a book, and a fist. If this skill test is successful, ready an ally at your location and heal a damage or horror from it. Good card. I think at this point now we're in the cards that I think are just like...
They're all just kind of good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the card is great in the right deck. And honestly, I'm cutting it more too as well. Like I think there's just like better cards at this point now.
Yeah. I think it depends what your allies look like too. If you're playing like, ARKHAM Pete, this card's one of the best cards you could play.
Yep.
Readying Duke and healing him is very good. If Duke dies, you are even worse than Carson.
It is true.
Because you don't have an investigator text box anymore.
Yeah.
So like that's really good. If you're playing with guys like Beat Cop, the free damage on this because you get to ready your Beat Cop and heal it, that's good. If you're playing with that Field Agent, the free. It's
also really good. Yeah.
Also really good. Even what's his name, Girish.
Oh yeah.
Getting to ready Girish.
Getting 2 unexpected courages out of him a turn, and then 2, so you basically can heal him 3 times in a turn.
Yeah. There's a lot of homes where this card is good, but outside of those homes, it's also very bad. Because you don't even commit for a while.
Yeah, and even in those homes, like if you find better ways to heal your stuff too, I can see this being on the outs of that. Card's good though. I think the card is sick. I mean, like in ARKHAM Pete, it's a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, like when it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
When it's bad, it's kind of like fearless, but better.
I thought this card said heal damage and a horror, which would have been.
Yeah, I mean, like you do just get the one, but.
Damn, you don't get to go to the screens.
Nah, you don't. You don't.
He's like, I gotta go to the screen, people. No, you don't. You can sit on my lap. All right, on to number 8. We got level 0 leadership. Commits for a wild. While it's committed to a skill test being performed by another investigator, it gains brain wild. Just 3 wild symbols, basically 3 brain symbols is kind of where we're looking at this card.
Like at its worst, it's like an unexpected courage for somebody else. Goes without saying, don't play this card in solo. It's no good. But giving somebody 3 brain, probably good enough to bail them out of whatever they're in.
Yeah.
If it's not, tough. There was nothing you could do.
Yeah, it's practice too. Yep. So like that's, I think for me, well, the slight edge over just the Inspiring Presence is just the practice on this. It's a wild, so you can pull it out for any test. And then it upgrades really well too, which we'll get into once we get higher on the list.
That one's really good.
Yeah. On to our number 7, which is level 2 Overpower. Commits for 3 fists. Max 1 committed per skill test. It's a practice and expert. If this skill test is successful, draw a card. 2 cards instead if you succeed by 2 or more. Russell. I think this card is obviously good, right? Yeah. It's obviously good, but I think the way Guardians upgrade their decks, This is going to be lower priority, which I think is just like what's pushing it down on the list.
No, it does, like, it's strong into the late, like, the late parts of a campaign, because you probably have sunk a whole bunch of XP into just a couple of cards as Guardian. That's often how the upgrade path goes. Unless you're playing small guns, in which case that's a different video.
Yeah.
And I think we've actually talked about that.
We have,
before.
yeah.
But drawing extra cards makes it more likely that you'll see the cards that you've sunk your big pile of XP into, and if you sunk a big pile of XP into it and you don't draw it, you have basically not gained that XP.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, that makes it pretty solid, I think, into like scenario 6, scenario 7. It's like not a bad buy there, because by that point your deck is probably doing what you want. Though there is a card further up on this list that also is a skill that costs 2 cards that cost 2 XP and are skills, and you probably want one before you want this.
Yeah. I think with Overpower is you're also like not upgrading this one for the fist icons, because you're usually pretty set on that. You're upgrading this for the extra card that you can potentially get out of it. Yeah. All right, on to number 6. We got Daring. This commits for 3 wilds, commit only to a skill test or an attack or evasion attempt against an enemy. That enemy gains Retaliate and Alert for the duration of the skill test. After this test ends, draw 1 card. Man, Russ, you're just giving the viewers exactly what they want. You look really stubby right now at this angle.
Yeah, well, it's because he is really stubby.
He is. So this one, I think it beat Overpower for us. Overpower 2, because it's because it is level 0.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it kind of does the same sort of thing.
Yeah, you get to draw the card. This card's also nuts in Silas.
Yep.
Because if you pick it up, you have already committed it to the test, and they still have Retaliate, and you still draw the card.
Yes, yeah.
So that's kind of wild. But beside that, sure, you give them Retaliate and Alert, but you also just gave the Performing Investigator +3, and if they can't pass with +3, as previously stated, there was nothing you could do.
Most things also have Retaliate.
Yeah, a lot of the scary ones already do.
Yeah, the Alert is like a little bit spookier, but like you're a Guardian, just kill them.
Yeah.
Just kill them.
Yeah, or like, I mean, if you need to evade something, this probably puts you up to 5, unless you're Leo Anderson, in which case you're slow as hell, Grandpa.
Yeah. And you should just be shooting them then, like, Grandpa, get your gun and shoot the guy. Or your fighting lessons. Remember how you taught that kid how to run away from things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daring's just a sweet card. On to our top 5, we got Steadfast. This commits for a Brain and a Fist. It's an 8. While you have 5 or more total remaining health and sanity, Steadfast gains Brain Fist. While you have 10 or more total remaining health and sanity, it gains Brain, Fist, Fist. You know what Guardians are really good at? Having a lot of things to soak their damage and horror for them. Do you know what Guardians... I mean, do you know what also helps you kind of not take damage and horror? Steadfast.
Yeah, Guardians also typically have just, like, slightly larger pools.
Yep.
Available to them. And even if they don't, Guardian is where the healing cards are, mostly, that aren't magic. At least for red damage.
Yeah. I like Steadfast a lot. I'll play it in Silas for like the majority of the time, upgrading it out only for like probably now it would be that the red skill, the Dauntless Spirit, the one that
one where you can just be like, I'm gonna punch my mental illness away.
Yes, yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Yeah. No, that card's really good.
Yeah. But Steadfast, it's great symbols, and like Brain is really, really powerful.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot that sucks more than being frozen in fear when your job is to fight people.
Yeah.
This will, like, you're testing up at least 1 because you have 1 base, right? Like, you have to. You're not Calvin. You can't be Calvin and play this.
It's true.
Unless you versatile it in, but like,
not worth it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah.
No. Yeah, card's just strong.
Yep. Yeah. Number 4, we got Take the Initiative. You might be noticing a trend here.
Yeah.
This is a practice bold skill, commits for 3 wilds, commit only to a skill test you're performing. Take the Initiative loses 1 wild for each action that is completed by by any investigator this phase.
Yeah.
In the Mythos phase, no one is taking actions. Well, actually, like they can technically. The rogue,
it's possible.
The rogue could find a way. But generally, this is just 3 wild icons for the Mythos phase, or I've seen it happen quite often, where they use it as like, hey, I want to go first, and then use it for their first action, and it's +3.
You just go first, do the thing first. You know, actually take the initiative, then commit your take the initiative to the thing that you took the initiative to do.
Pure flavor victory there.
It's good. Yeah. The only disappointing part about this card is that he's not stopping bullets with his code. He's just breaking through a door.
Yeah, I know. I thought he was just like doing
Travis,
that too.
Travis points that out every time.
Yeah, and Travis is in here. Travis has been replaced by Russell, who's back on the timeout chair. Put himself on timeout. That's growth. That's growth.
Because, he recognized that he was misbehaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's practiced. It commits for wild. So if your practice makes perfect deck, you can hit this. And even if you can't, just like everything that we said about Steadfast being good, this one only is a lot easier to get to 3.
And I mean, as well, like, take the initiative, and our next card on the list are like perfect. Practice makes perfect during the Mythos phase. So why don't we go to our number 3? You probably know what it is. It's Leadership 2. Commits for a wild. It's practice. While leadership is committed to a skill test being performed by another investigator, leadership gains wild and a brain icon. If it's successful, gain 2 resources. If it was committed to a skill test being performed by another investigator, that investigator also gains 2 resources.
4 money counted.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's so much money.
Yep.
You're gonna make the rogue jealous.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Also, they're gonna be like, "What do you mean that guy got to pass a brain test?"
Jealous for 2 reasons. That's a win. That's a win.
So,
card's good.
Yes.
Anytime that you can pack resources into something that protects you or advances the game, that's good.
Yeah, the dictionary entry on efficiency just has a picture of this card. It's kind of weird, actually.
Yeah.
Considering that my dictionary is from like 1996.
Bryn, you got to show that to someone because I think you just you discovered something. Our top 2, if you are a skill aficionado like us, you probably know what they are. Why don't we dive to our number 2, which is Vicious Blow 2, Practiced Expert, commits for 2 fists. If this skill test is successful during an attack, this attack deals +1 damage, +2 damage if instead it succeeds by 2 or more.
It's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I think we can talk about our number 1 with it as well because I think it's
rather unsurprisingly it's the same card, only level 0.
Yeah, so it's just if it's successful, deals +1 damage. It doesn't have the extra fist, and it doesn't have the extra damage if you succeed by 2 or more.
Yeah, but Vicious Blow 0, not uncommon for that to be in your deck from scenario 1 to scenario 8.
Yeah,
and like every time you're happy to draw it. It's good at every point. This one gets the edge over the level 2 version to me because I play with it a whole lot more, and I oftentimes don't upgrade it because I've got a weapon to do extra damage with too.
Yeah.
And what this does is like push me over the most enemies.
The ass
become difficult. Yeah, they become difficult by having an odd number of health because all of the lower level weapons deal an even amount of damage. Or not. I guess some of them do an odd amount of damage because they don't do extra damage at all, so they just do 1. But those ones suck. We're not.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, no.
They don't matter. This puts you to the uneven number, like either 3 or 5, that you needed to kill most enemies that are, like, hard but not an elite boss guy.
Yeah.
And even if it is an elite boss guy, this is just extra damage.
And as you brought up when we were doing our rankings, that Vicious Blow 0 is kind of just like generic use. You use it against like any enemy that's going to save you an action.
Yeah, anytime it's worth an action, it's good.
Yeah, and Vicious Blow 2 can also do the same, but Vicious Blow, there's a lot less like 4 health enemies, because like with a 4 health enemy, you're probably just going to be like, I'm just going to attack it twice rather than spend your Vicious Blow 2s, because Vicious Blow 2s kind of live more for boss battles at that point, and they're really fucking good at it.
Absolutely, they're not. It's not bad at all.
Yeah. But like when we look at like Brute Force, which was the Survivor one we did last week, Brute Force was our number 1. It does 3 damage on a basic attack. This will do 3 damage with your weapon in mind. That also is going to make it 3 damage, and that 3 damage is like 3 damage is equal to the discovering an additional clue, right? And that's kind of like where this one lives with that in mind, which is makes it so good for just general use. It's a great card. So it's Vicious Blow 2. It's number 2 on our list.
Yeah,
but
Vicious Blow 2 is like also very, very good, but there's no rush to get it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a thing that happens when you're like 8 XP, what am I going to buy?
I now only have 4.
It doesn't happen a lot in Guardian because there's all kinds of sweet things.
There's a lot of cool things, yeah. Also great art. It's like it's such a good art.
This guy's just like, Night Gaunts again? Give me the axe.
Funnily enough, though, this and an axe doesn't do a great job of killing Night Gaunts. You need to do 2 attacks.
No, not really.
Flavor, fail. Okay, what is that? Melvin, I think? Or all the weird magic terms for different people. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our Guardian skill video. we'll be back in the near future, joined by Russ, probably still in the timeout chair, to talk about the rogue skills, which there are some spicy ones. So we'll see you for that one. In the meantime, have a good one. Thanks for watching. And as always, GG's.